The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched into the distance like a cathedral made of light and metal. Thousands of seats rose in curved rows, each one filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some were tall and thin with skin that glowed softly. Others had scales or fur or bodies that seemed to shift between solid and liquid. They all looked down at the small group of humans standing in the center of the chamber. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood at the front of the human delegation. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, and she wore a plain gray suit that looked boring compared to the colorful robes and armor of the alien ambassadors. Behind her, 3 other humans waited quietly. They looked calm, but their hearts were beating fast. The chamber fell silent. A massive creature with 6 arms and purple skin leaned forward from the highest seat. This was Speaker Mordax, the leader of the council. His voice boomed through the hall without any need for speakers or microphones. "Humans of Earth," he said slowly, as if speaking to children. "You have come before this council to request full membership in the Galactic Coalition. Is this correct?" "Yes, Speaker," Elena replied. Her voice was steady and clear. "We believe Earth has much to offer the Coalition." A sound like laughter rippled through the chamber. It was not friendly laughter. The Zithari ambassador stood up from his seat. He was tall and thin, with silver skin that reflected the light. When he smiled, his teeth were sharp. "Much to offer?" he said, his voice dripping with mockery. "You have barely left your own star system. Your fastest ships take years to reach even your closest neighbors. You have no quantum communications, no gravity manipulation, no dimensional folding capabilities." The Zithari walked down the steps toward Elena, his long robes flowing behind him. "You still burn chemical fuel to escape your own planet's gravity, like children playing with fireworks." More laughter echoed through the hall. Elena did not move. She kept her eyes on the Zithari ambassador as he circled the human delegation. "Tell me," the Zithari continued, "how many worlds do you control? How many colonies have you established among the stars?" "We have research stations on Mars and several moons," Elena answered calmly, "and mining operations in our asteroid belt." The Zithari laughed loudly. He turned to address the entire council. "Research stations, mining operations, in their own star system." He shook his head. "My people had colonized 50 star systems before we even discovered faster-than-light travel. The humans cannot even reach their nearest star, and they want to join us as equals." Another ambassador stood. This one looked like a large insect with crystalline wings. "Perhaps we should grant them protectorate status instead," she suggested. Her voice sounded like chiming bells. "They could learn from us. In a few thousand years, they might be ready for real membership." "A few thousand years?" A third alien laughed. He was short and round, covered in thick gray fur. "Look at their delegation. They do not even have translation implants. They are using ear devices." "Ear devices!" "Like ancient times." The mockery continued for several minutes. Each ambassador seemed eager to point out another way that humans were backward and primitive. They laughed at Earth's slow ships, simple computers, and limited energy production. They made jokes about how humans still lived on the surface of their planet instead of in orbital habitats. Through it all, Elena stood silent and calm. She did not argue. She did not defend humanity's achievements. She simply waited. Finally, Speaker Mordax raised one of his 6 hands. The chamber fell quiet again. "The council has heard the human petition," he announced, "and the council's decision is as follows. Humanity will be granted probationary status. You may participate in council discussions, but you will have no vote. You may trade with coalition members, but under strict limitations. You will be monitored and evaluated." He looked down at Elena. "Return to your small blue world, human. Develop your technologies. Expand your reach. Perhaps in time you will be worthy of standing among us as equals. But that time is not today." Elena bowed her head slightly. "Thank you, Speaker. The people of Earth accept the Council's decision with gratitude." The Zithari ambassador laughed again. "Such humility, such grace. Perhaps there is hope for your species after all, even if it takes 10,000 years." Elena turned and walked toward the exit. The other humans followed her. As they left the chamber, Elena's expression remained calm and neutral. But if anyone had looked closely, they might have seen the smallest hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. They reached their ship an hour later. It was small and simple compared to the alien vessels docked nearby. Inside, Elena finally allowed herself to relax. She sat in the pilot's chair and activated the communication system. "Ambassador Vasquez to Earth Command," she said quietly. "The council meeting is complete. Probationary status granted as expected." A voice crackled back. "Understood, Ambassador. Should we proceed to the next phase?" Elena's smile grew wider. She looked out at the council station, at all the proud alien ships surrounding it. "Not yet," she said. "Let them think we are simple and primitive a little while longer. Let them feel superior." "The revelation will be so much sweeter when it comes." "Agreed," the voice replied. New Babylon Station continues standard operations. All other locations remain hidden. The galaxy still believes we are confined to one small system. "Perfect," Elena said. She entered the coordinates for Earth into the navigation system. "Let's go home. We have a lot of work to do." The ship pulled away from the station and accelerated into the darkness. Behind them, the aliens continued their celebrations, laughing at the primitive humans who could barely leave their own star. None of them noticed the encrypted signal that left the human ship, traveling faster than any of their own communications could track. The signal reached its destination 3 seconds later, deep in a nebula, hidden by layers of electromagnetic interference and gravitational anomalies. A massive structure received the message. Lights flickered on across its surface. Inside, 4 billion humans went about their daily lives, building, learning, and growing stronger. The mockery had begun. But the galaxy had no idea what was really waiting in the darkness between the stars. The exploration vessel Windcaller drifted through space like a leaf on a cosmic wind. It was a Cravathi ship, built for long-range surveying and resource discovery. Its hull was covered in sensor arrays that constantly scanned the darkness around it, looking for anything valuable or interesting. Captain Thexel sat in his command chair, his 4 eyes reviewing data streams on multiple screens at once. His species had evolved to process information quickly, and he prided himself on never missing a detail. Behind him, his crew of 12 worked quietly at their stations. They were charting the Vermilion Nebula, a cloud of gas and dust in the outer rim territories. The nebula was beautiful but unimportant. No one lived there. No valuable minerals had been detected. It was just empty space filled with colorful gas that looked pretty from a distance, or so everyone thought. Navigation Officer Rella spoke up from her station. "Captain, I am detecting some unusual electromagnetic readings coming from Sector 793. The patterns are inconsistent with natural nebula behavior." Thexel turned 2 of his eyes toward her display. "Define unusual." Rella manipulated the data, zooming in on the readings. "The electromagnetic interference in that sector is much stronger than it should be, and there are regular pulses mixed in with the random noise, almost like something is generating power." Thexel felt a tingle of excitement. A power signature in an empty nebula could mean many things: an unknown alien race, an ancient artifact, a natural phenomenon that science had not yet explained. Any of those discoveries would make his career. "Set course for those coordinates. Let us investigate." The Windcaller changed direction and accelerated toward the source of the signal. As they got closer, the sensors began to show more and more unusual data. The interference grew stronger, making it harder to see clearly. But underneath the noise, there was definitely something there. "Captain," said the science officer, a young Telwrathi named Koss, "I am picking up mass readings now. Something very large is in that area. The interference has been hiding it from long-range scans." "How large?" Thexel asked. Koss worked his controls for a moment, his face showing confusion. "I cannot get an exact measurement because of the interference. But based on what I can detect, it is at least 50 kilometers across. Possibly much larger, 50 kilometers. That is bigger than most space stations." Thexel stood up from his chair. "Can you determine if it is natural or artificial? The shapes I'm seeing are too regular to be natural, and the power signatures are definitely technological in origin." "Captain, I believe we have found a megastructure." The bridge fell silent. A megastructure was an enormous artificial construction, the kind of project that required incredible resources and technology. Only the most advanced civilizations could build such things, and even then they were rare. Finding one hidden in an unexplored nebula was like finding treasure. "Take us in closer," Thexel ordered, "but proceed carefully. If this structure belongs to someone, we do not want to appear hostile." The Windcaller moved deeper into the nebula. The colorful gases swirled around them, making visibility poor even for their advanced sensors. But gradually, through the clouds and interference, something began to appear. It was a ring. A massive ring of metal and composite materials rotating slowly in space. Lights dotted its surface like stars. Sections of it were covered in what looked like habitation modules and docking bays. Energy conduits glowed with power. By all the stars, Rella whispered. Look at the size of it. Koss was frantically scanning the structure. Captain, I am revising my earlier estimate. This structure is not 50 kilometers across. It is closer to 200 kilometers in diameter. The entire ring is designed for habitation. Based on the number of modules I can detect, it could house millions of people. Who built this? Thexel wondered aloud. I do not recognize the architectural style. It does not match any known species in the Coalition. Captain, Rella said nervously, I am detecting automated defense systems activating. Multiple weapon platforms are powering up. Before Thexel could give an order, the communication system crackled to life. The voice that came through was speaking perfect Coalition standard, but with an accent that Thexel found oddly familiar. Unknown vessel, this is New Babylon Station Control. You have entered restricted space. State your identity and purpose immediately. Thexel quickly activated the response channel. This is Captain Thexel of the exploration vessel Windcaller, operating under Coalition charter. We detected unusual readings and came to investigate. We mean no harm. There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again. Captain Thexel, you have discovered a classified human installation. This location was not meant to be found. Your vessel's communications are now jammed. You will remain in position while we decide how to proceed. Human? Thexel felt confusion wash over him. The humans were primitives. They could barely leave their own star system. Everyone in the galaxy knew this. The Council had just granted them probationary status because they were so far behind everyone else. Captain, Koss said, his voice shaking, I am detecting more structures. Dozens of them. They were hidden by the interference, but now that we are closer, I can see them clearly. There are habitat rings, solar collection arrays, manufacturing platforms, agricultural modules. This is not just one station. This is an entire civilization. How many people? Thexel asked quietly. Koss worked his calculations. Based on the size and density of the habitation modules, I estimate a population of at least 3 to 4 billion, maybe more, 4 billion humans living in space. 4 billion people that the galaxy did not know existed. Thexel felt his mind struggling to process this information. It did not make sense. The humans had told the Council they only had small research stations and mining operations. They had accepted mockery and probationary status without protest. They had lied to everyone. Try to send a message to Coalition headquarters, Thexel ordered. Priority 1. They need to know about this immediately. Rella tried several different channels. Captain, all our communications are being blocked. Whatever jamming technology they are using, it is more advanced than anything in our systems. I cannot break through it. The communication channel opened again. Captain Thexel, you and your crew will be treated well, but you cannot be allowed to report this discovery. Not yet. A transport ship is on its way to escort you to a holding facility. Your vessel will be secured. Do not attempt to flee. Our defense systems are far more capable than your ship. Thexel looked at his crew. They all looked back at him with fear and confusion in their eyes. He turned back to the view screen and stared at the massive ring structure floating before them. Lights twinkled across its surface. Ships moved between the modules. Life was happening there, hidden from the galaxy. We will comply, he finally said. But I must ask, how long has this been here? How long have humans been living in this place? There was a long silence. Then the human voice responded. New Babylon Station has been operational for 173 years. It was the first of the 7 metropolises, but I suspect you will learn more about that soon enough. The channel closed. Thexel sat down heavily in his command chair. 173 years. For nearly 2 centuries, the humans had been building this hidden civilization, while the rest of the galaxy thought they were primitive and backward. He wondered what else the humans had been hiding. And he wondered what would happen when the truth finally came out. The galaxy had mocked humanity, but looking at the enormous structure before him, Thexel realized that the humans had been laughing right back. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the largest gathering in decades. Representatives from every member species filled the Great Hall. The normal order and ceremony had been abandoned. Everyone was talking at once, their voices creating a storm of confusion and anger. Speaker Mordax struck his ceremonial staff against the floor 3 times. The sound echoed like thunder through the chamber. Silence fell slowly, reluctantly. Everyone wanted to keep shouting, but they respected the office enough to stop. "This council is now in session," Mordax announced. "We are here to address the discovery made by Captain Thexel of the Windcaller. Captain, please present your findings to the council." Thexel stood nervously. He had been brought to the council station just hours after human transport ships had released him and his crew. The humans had treated them well during their brief detention. They had even allowed him to keep all his sensor data. That worried him more than anything else. It meant the humans were not afraid of what the galaxy would think. "Honored council members," Thexel began. "While charting the Vermilion Nebula, my crew discovered a massive artificial structure. Further investigation revealed it to be a human habitat ring called New Babylon Station. The structure measures approximately 200 kilometers in diameter and houses an estimated population of over 4 billion humans." The chamber erupted again. "Impossible," someone shouted. "The humans told us they had no major space installations. 4 billion? Another voice cried. "That is larger than some of our homeworlds." Mordax struck his staff again. Silence. He looked at Thexel. "Continue, Captain. The humans informed me that New Babylon Station has been operational for 173 years. They also mentioned it was the first of something they called the 7 metropolises. This suggests there are at least 6 more structures of similar size hidden throughout the galaxy." This time the council could not be silenced. Accusations flew through the air. Demands for explanations mixed with expressions of outrage. Some ambassadors called for military action. Others insisted this had to be some kind of mistake or misunderstanding. Through it all, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood quietly in the human delegation area. She waited calmly, hands folded in front of her. She knew what was coming. She had been preparing for this moment for years. Finally, Speaker Mordax turned his attention to her. "Ambassador Vasquez, I believe you have some explaining to do." Elena walked to the center of the chamber. She activated a holographic projector she had brought with her. Images began to appear in the air above her head. They showed massive ring structures, cylinder habitats rotating in space, spherical stations collecting solar energy. Each image was labeled with a name and location. "Members of the council," Elena said clearly, "I will not insult your intelligence by denying what Captain Thexel discovered. Yes, humanity has been expanding into space for nearly 2 centuries. Yes, we have built multiple large-scale habitats throughout this region of the galaxy. And yes, we deliberately concealed this information from the Galactic Coalition." The Zithari ambassador leaped to his feet. "This is an outrage. You lied to this council. You deceived us all." Elena turned to face him directly. "We did not lie. We simply did not volunteer certain information. When we came before this council, you asked us about our presence in the Sol system. We told you the truth. We have research stations on Mars and mining operations in the asteroid belt. All of that is accurate. You never asked us about our presence outside the Sol system. A technicality." The Zithari hissed. "You knew what we meant, did we?" Elena asked calmly. "Or did you simply assume that humans were too primitive to have achieved anything significant? You made your assumptions based on limited data. We chose not to correct those assumptions. There is a difference." She turned back to address the entire council. The holographic display changed to show historical images, early human spacecraft, primitive stations, simple mining operations. When humanity first began exploring space, we were indeed primitive by your standards, but we learned quickly. We developed new technologies. We found ways to build large structures efficiently. We created closed-loop ecosystems that could support millions of people, and we did all of this while the galaxy was not watching. The display changed again, showing each of the 7 massive structures. New Babylon Station, Armstrong Sphere, Tsiolkovsky Ring. The names appeared one by one, each representing billions of humans living and working in space. "Why?" Speaker Mordax asked. His voice was not angry, just curious. "Why hide all of this? Why allow us to mock you?" Elena met his gaze. "Because we needed time. In our early days of space exploration, we encountered other species. Not all of those encounters were friendly. We learned that showing weakness invites exploitation. We learned that appearing too strong too quickly invites fear and aggression, so we chose a middle path." She gestured at the images above her. We built our civilization in places where you were not looking. We used nebulas, asteroid fields, and regions you considered worthless. We hid behind natural interference and carefully managed our electromagnetic signatures. We appeared weak and primitive while we grew strong and capable. The insect-like ambassador from before spoke up. So this was all planned? You deliberately made yourselves look pathetic? Not pathetic, Elena corrected. Just unthreatening. We wanted time to establish ourselves before revealing our true capabilities. Time to build a strong foundation. Time to ensure that when we did join the galactic community, we could do so as equals rather than as subjects or targets. The holographic display changed one final time. It showed population numbers, resource production rates, technological capabilities. The data painted a picture of a civilization far more advanced and numerous than anyone had suspected. The total human population living in space structures is currently 4.2 billion, Elena announced. Our combined industrial output exceeds that of most coalition member species. Our technology, while different from yours, is in many areas equally advanced or even superior. We have faster-than-light communication systems, advanced gravity manipulation, fusion power on a massive scale. She paused and looked around the chamber. Every eye was fixed on her. Every ambassador was silent, absorbing the magnitude of what they were learning. We did not reveal ourselves because we wanted something from you. We revealed ourselves because it is time. Humanity is ready to take its place as a full member of the galactic community, not as a probationary member, not as a protectorate, but as an equal. So what happens now? The furry gray alien asked. Do you expect us to simply accept this deception? Elena smiled slightly. I expect you to make a choice. You can treat this as a betrayal and make humanity an enemy, or you can accept that we took reasonable precautions to protect ourselves during our vulnerable period, and welcome us as the ally we wish to be. The choice, honored council members, is yours. She bowed formally and walked back to her position. The holographic display remained active, showing the 7 massive human structures scattered across the galaxy. Each one was a monument to human ambition and patience. Each one was proof that the primitives everyone had mocked were not primitive at all. Speaker Mordax looked at the display for a long moment. Then he looked at Elena. This council will need time to discuss these revelations. We will reconvene in 3 days to vote on humanity's status within the coalition. As the session ended and the ambassadors began filing out, Thexil caught Elena's eye. She nodded at him respectfully. He nodded back. Despite everything, he found himself admiring the humans. They had played the galaxy like a master musician plays an instrument, and now the real song was just beginning. The 3 days that followed were unlike anything the galaxy had experienced in centuries. Every news channel broadcast the story constantly. Every species debated what the human revelation meant for them. Fear, anger, curiosity, and excitement mixed together in a volatile combination across thousands of worlds. Some reactions were predictable. The scientific communities were fascinated and wanted to study human technology. The trading guilds saw opportunities for profit. The smaller peaceful species felt hope that humanity might be a counterbalance to more aggressive powers. But other reactions were more dangerous. In the military headquarters of the Kravex Empire, Supreme Commander Vorkath studied holographic displays with his 3 senior generals. The Kravex were a warrior race, respected and feared throughout the galaxy. They had built their empire through strength and conquest. They did not like surprises. 4 billion hidden humans, Vorkath said, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. 7 massive installations that we knew nothing about. Technology we cannot fully assess. This is unacceptable. One of his generals, a scarred veteran named Throck, gestured at the display. Our intelligence suggests the humans have been preparing for this moment for decades. Their defensive systems are formidable. They have weapon platforms, shield generators, and fleet assets we were not aware of, which makes them a threat, another general added. If they have been hiding this much, what else might they be concealing? We should demand they submit to inspection and disarmament. Vorkath nodded slowly. Contact our allies on the council. The humans must be brought to heel before they become too powerful to control. We will propose a resolution requiring them to dismantle their hidden installations and accept coalition oversight of all their activities. Meanwhile, on Earth, Elena Vasquez stood in the command center of the unified Earth government. The room was filled with screens showing data from across human space. military readiness reports, diplomatic communications, economic projections. Everything humanity had built was at risk now. President Chen entered the room, his face showing the stress of the last 3 days. "Report," he said simply. Elena turned to face him. "The Kravex are mobilizing. They are calling for our installations to be dismantled. Several other militaristic species are supporting them. They are afraid of us. Are we prepared for conflict?" Chen asked quietly. "Yes, sir. All 7 metropolises have activated their defense networks. Our fleets are on high alert. The Kravex would be making a serious mistake if they attack us. But the cost would be terrible on both sides." Chen was silent for a moment. "We did not hide for 200 years only to start a war now. There has to be another way." Before Elena could respond, an alert flashed on one of the screens. A large Kravex battle fleet had just entered the Vermilion Nebula and was approaching New Babylon Station. Their weapons were powered but not yet locked onto targets. "It is starting," Elena said quietly. At New Babylon Station, Admiral Marcus Okafor watched the Kravex fleet approach on his tactical display. 12 battleships, 30 cruisers, and countless smaller vessels. It was an impressive show of force. Under normal circumstances, it would be more than enough to threaten any station into surrender. But these were not normal circumstances. "Activate full defensive systems," Okafor ordered calmly. "But hold fire unless they attack first. Let them see what they are dealing with." All across New Babylon Station and the surrounding space, systems came online that had been hidden until now. Weapon platforms emerged from concealment. Shield generators powered up, creating overlapping fields of protection. Entire sections of the station that had appeared to be simple habitation modules revealed themselves as military installations. And then the human fleet arrived. They came from deeper in the nebula, where they had been waiting. 50 capital ships, each one sleek and deadly. Hundreds of support vessels, fighter wings that moved with precision and coordination. The humans had not just built habitats in secret. They had built a military force to protect them. The Kravex fleet stopped advancing. On his flagship, Commander Vorkath stared at the display in disbelief. The humans had more ships than his intelligence had suggested. Much more. And the energy signatures coming from their weapons were unlike anything he had seen before. A communication channel opened. Admiral Okafor's face appeared on Vorkath's screen. "Commander Vorkath, this is Admiral Okafor of the Human Defense Fleet. You have entered human territory with an armed military force. Please state your intentions." Vorkath considered his options. He had come here expecting to intimidate a weak opponent. Instead, he faced an adversary that appeared to be at least his equal, possibly his superior. "We are here to enforce the will of the Galactic Council," he said finally. "Your hidden installations are a threat to galactic security. They must be dismantled." Okafor smiled slightly. "The Council has not voted yet, Commander. You are acting without authorization. And even if they do vote against us, we will not be dismantling anything we have built. These are our homes. Millions of our people live here. We will defend them. You cannot win against the combined might of the galaxy," Vorkath warned. "Perhaps not," Okafor agreed. "But you would not win either. Look at your tactical displays, Commander. Really look at them. We have matched your fleet ship for ship. Our defensive installations are more powerful than your scans can fully measure. And this is just one of our 7 locations. If you start a war here, you will be fighting on 7 fronts simultaneously." He leaned forward. "We did not reveal ourselves to fight. We revealed ourselves to join the galactic community as equals. But make no mistake, we will not be threatened or bullied. If you force us to choose between submission and war, we will choose war." "Is that really what you want?" Vorkath was silent for a long moment. His tactical officers were showing him projections of what a battle would cost. The numbers were not good. The humans would take heavy losses, but so would the Kravex. And for what? To destroy installations that humanity would just rebuild later? Before he could respond, a priority message arrived from the Kravex homeworld. The Emperor himself had sent it. The message was brief. "Stand down. Return to base. The Council votes tomorrow, and we will abide by their decision." Vorkath felt relief wash over him, though he would never admit it. "Very well, Admiral. We will withdraw, but this is not over." "I hope it is," Commander Okafor replied. "Because despite what you might think, we truly do want peace. We just want it on fair terms." The Kravex fleet slowly turned and accelerated away from the nebula. The crisis had been averted, at least for now. But everyone knew that the real decision would come tomorrow at the council vote. Back on Earth, Elena received the news with quiet satisfaction. "We showed them our strength," she said to President Chen. "But we also showed them our restraint. We could have fired first and claimed self-defense. But we did not," Chen nodded. "Let us hope the council recognizes the value of that restraint. Tomorrow we will know whether humanity has found its place among the stars, or whether we will have to carve that place out by force." Elena looked out at the stars through the command center window. She thought about all the humans living in the 7 metropolises, going about their lives, trusting their leaders to keep them safe. She thought about the future they were trying to build. Tomorrow would determine what kind of future that would be. The council chamber was absolutely silent. Every seat was filled. Every ambassador waited with held breath. This vote would reshape the galaxy. Speaker Mordax stood at his podium, his 6 arms spread wide. 3 days ago, humanity revealed the existence of hidden installations housing over 4 billion people. Since then, we have investigated their claims, analyzed their capabilities, and debated their place in our coalition. Now we must decide. He looked around the chamber. The question before us is simple. Do we grant humanity full membership with all rights and privileges? Do we maintain their probationary status? Or do we take punitive action for their deception? Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the human delegation area, her face calm but her heart racing. Everything they had worked for came down to this moment. Behind her, representatives from human governments across the solar system and beyond waited silently. The Zithari ambassador stood first. His silver skin seemed to shimmer with emotion. "I will not pretend I am not angry about the human deception. They made fools of us all. They accepted our mockery while laughing behind our backs." He paused. "But I have spent these 3 days studying their history, reading their philosophy, understanding their reasons. And I have come to a conclusion." He turned to look at Elena. "The humans did not deceive us out of malice. They deceived us out of wisdom." A murmur went through the chamber. The Zithari continued. "We treated them as primitives because they appeared primitive. We mocked their accomplishments because they seemed small. But the truth is that they were testing us, testing whether we would judge them fairly or simply dismiss them, and we failed that test." He looked back at the council. "The humans built their civilization carefully, hidden from our view because they learned from experience that showing weakness invites exploitation. They are not wrong about this. How many times have we seen smaller species crushed by larger ones? How many times have we allowed the strong to dominate the weak?" The Zithari ambassador took a deep breath. "My people vote in favor of full membership for humanity. They have earned it through their achievements and their patience. Let them stand among us as equals." Elena felt surprise and gratitude wash over her. The Zithari had been their harshest critics. If even they could see the reason behind human actions, perhaps there was hope. Commander Vorkath of the Krevex stood next. His warrior frame filled the space around him. "My people believe in strength. We respect those who can defend themselves and their interests. The humans have demonstrated both capability and restraint. They could have responded to our fleet with violence yesterday. Instead, they showed us their power and then chose peace." He looked directly at Elena. "That is the mark of a true civilization. Not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to choose when not to." The Krevex Empire votes in favor of full membership. One by one, the ambassadors stood and cast their votes. Some spoke at length about their reasoning. Others simply stated their position. The scientific species voted yes, eager to share knowledge with humanity. The trading guilds voted yes, seeing economic opportunity. The peaceful species voted yes, hoping humanity would help protect them from aggressive neighbors. A few voted no, still angry about the deception or fearful of human power. But they were a small minority. As the votes were tallied, it became clear that the result was overwhelming. Finally, Speaker Mordax announced the decision. By a vote of 743 in favor, 98 opposed, and 47 abstaining, the Galactic Council grants humanity full membership in the coalition, with all rights, privileges, and responsibilities that entails. The chamber erupted in applause and cheers, though some remained silent. Elena felt tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. She blinked them back and stood tall. They had done it. 200 years of careful planning, patient building, and strategic patience had paid off. Mordax raised his hands for silence. "Ambassador Vasquez, please approach." Elena walked to the center of the chamber. The speaker descended from his podium to meet her. "It is customary for new members to offer something to the coalition," he said quietly, "a gesture of goodwill and cooperation. What does humanity offer?" Elena had been prepared for this question. She activated a data crystal and handed it to Mordax. "We offer knowledge. Our research into gravity manipulation and faster-than-light communications. Our techniques for building large-scale habitats efficiently. Our methods for closed-loop ecological systems. All of this we will share freely with any species that wishes to learn." Mordax looked at the crystal in his hand. "This is generous." "More than generous," Elena smiled. "We hid our civilization for 200 years because we needed to grow strong. But we did not grow strong just to stand alone. We grew strong so that we could help build a better galaxy. That starts with sharing what we have learned." She turned to address the entire council. "For too long, humanity watched from the shadows. We saw the good the coalition does and the problems it faces. We want to be part of the solution. We want to help protect the weak. We want to expand knowledge and prosperity. We want to explore new frontiers together." Her voice grew stronger. "Yes, we deceived you about our capabilities. Yes, we allowed you to underestimate us. But we did these things because we had to protect ourselves while we were vulnerable. Now we are strong enough to stand openly, strong enough to be honest about who and what we are, and we choose to use that strength in service of peace and progress." The chamber was silent again, but this time it was a thoughtful silence. The ambassadors were processing not just what Elena said, but what it meant for the future. Humanity was now a major power in the galaxy, whether anyone liked it or not. But unlike some powers, they seemed genuinely interested in cooperation rather than domination. Captain Thexel, watching from the gallery, thought about his discovery in the Vermilion Nebula. He had stumbled upon New Babylon Station by accident, but now he wondered if it really had been an accident. The humans had allowed him to find them. They had been ready for that moment. They had planned everything, right down to the timing of the revelation. It was brilliant, really. Patient, careful, and ultimately successful. Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to adjust to the new reality. Human trade missions visited coalition worlds, offering goods and services. Human scientists attended conferences and shared their research. Human diplomats negotiated agreements and built relationships. And slowly, carefully, humanity revealed more of what they had built. An 8th metropolis was acknowledged, then a 9th. Resource collection operations in a dozen star systems. Research outposts studying everything from exotic matter to alien biology. The humans had not just been hiding in a few nebulas, they had spread throughout this entire region of the galaxy, while everyone else was looking the other way. Some species felt threatened by each new revelation, but others felt excited. The humans were bringing fresh perspectives and new possibilities. Their technology was different enough to be interesting, but compatible enough to be useful. Their culture valued cooperation and mutual benefit. They made good partners. A year after the vote, Elena stood on an observation deck at New Babylon Station. Through the window, she could see dozens of ships from different species docked at the station. Trade vessels, science ships, even a few tourist craft bringing curious aliens to see the human metropolis for themselves. President Chen stood beside her. "We did it," he said quietly. "Everything we worked for. Everything our ancestors built in secret. It is all paying off now," Elena nodded. "But this is just the beginning. Now comes the harder part. Living up to the promises we made. Being the kind of civilization we claimed we wanted to be." Chen smiled. "I have no doubt we will succeed. We spent 200 years preparing for this. We will not waste the opportunity." Far below them, in the habitation rings of New Babylon Station, 4 billion humans continued their daily lives. Children attended schools. Workers built new sections and maintained old ones. Scientists conducted research. Artists created beauty. Life went on, as it always had, but now without the need for secrecy. And in 6 other metropolises scattered across the galaxy, billions more humans did the same. They were no longer hidden. They were no longer mocked. They stood in the light, proud and strong, ready to help build a better future for all species. The aliens had mocked humanity, calling them primitive and backward. They had laughed at human ships and simple technology. They had dismissed Earth as insignificant. But humanity had learned long ago that appearance and reality are not always the same. They had learned that patience is a virtue. They had learned that sometimes the best way to win is to let others underestimate you until the moment is right to show your true strength. The galaxy had mocked the humans. But now the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity had not just reached for the stars. They had claimed the spaces between them. They had built cities in the void. They had created a civilization that spanned light years while everyone else thought they were trapped on one small world. And this was only the beginning. As Elena looked out at the stars, she smiled. The mockery had turned to respect. The deception had given way to partnership. And humanity had finally taken its rightful place among the civilizations of the galaxy, not through conquest or force, but through patience, wisdom, and the determination to build something worth revealing when the time was right.